yeah, the system's messed up, but what am I supposed to do about it? A few weeks ago, I talked about injustice. A lot of you pointed out that I was talking about the big, bad, broken system that puts people in bad situations and makes them make bad choices. And your response was, yeah, the system's messed up, but what am I supposed to do about it? I'm just one person. And you're right. When I think about how unfair the world is, I get overwhelmed. Like, even if a few of us banded together and kind of went after the system, what difference would it make? When we have enough trouble keeping our own homes together. But maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing. I mean, yes, the system is really broken and there's injustice everywhere. It's massive. But you can make a difference, a huge difference. A few years ago, my wife and I became aware of two students in our neighborhood who were just kind of unsupervised all the time. Their names were Romello and Jatea, and the school told us that they were often showing up for school without any breakfast and that at the end of the day, nobody would pick them up. And they were seen wandering our neighborhood till all hours of the day and night. My wife's heart went out to these kids, and so she invited them over to our house to play. And they'd come after school and they'd play, and they'd stay for dinner. Nobody would call, nobody would check on them, and usually at 7 or 8 at night, we would drive them back home. This went on for weeks. So one day, Romello and Jatea show up at my house. I said, you guys gonna stay and play? No, we're just supposed to just give this letter to you, Mr. Klein. So they give me this letter. I open the letter. It's from their mom. In the letter, it tells me that if she doesn't pay $1,200 of child support by the next day, she's going to prison. She's been subpoenaed to court to answer for why she hasn't paid this child support. And then the letter says that she's asking me to help her. What? I mean, how am I supposed to help her? This is like way beyond me. I have no idea what to do. A friend of mine tells me, why don't you just go to court with her, stand next to her, bring a little bit of money, and just stand with her. So I call her on the phone and say, look, tomorrow morning I'm gonna go to court with you. I'm gonna stand with you. So we go the next morning. The judge calls her case. He talks to them like he knows them, and then he turns to me and says, and who are you? This is when I pull out my reverend thing. Well, I'm Reverend Jeff Klein, and I'm here to tell you, Your Honor, that to put her in jail, huge mistake. Could we just get in a room, the lawyers and me and her boyfriend, and just work something out? He agreed. Sent us to a room. We talked for like an hour, and she didn't go to prison. That day, justice was done. You know, there were really two broken systems here. There was a broken family system that caused these kids all kinds of hurt and offered them no support. In love, we entered into that system and we offered to love them and support them and walk with them and give them what they needed. Because of that, we became aware of a much bigger broken system, a judicial system that was willing to put this single mom in prison for something she had done years before and leave these kids with no mom at all. Now that day, we didn't change the system, we didn't change any laws, but we did change the world for this single mom and her kids, at least for the moment. Justice happens when we stand with someone, just one person, and demand the right thing be done for them. It's called being an advocate. Jesus did this. Remember that story in the Bible where they catch a woman in the act of adultery and they drag her out and they throw her at Jesus' feet? Of course, they don't bring her boyfriend, they just bring her. And they say to Jesus, the law says this woman's supposed to be stoned. Now, Jesus could have easily said, you're right, that's what the law says, let's stone her. But instead, he stands with her. And he says to these guys this famous line that we all know, whoever here is without sin can throw the first stone. It says in the Bible that from the oldest to the youngest, they all left. Jesus didn't change the system, but he stood with this one woman and made sure the right thing was done. In the face of injustice, Jesus became her advocate. Is there someone you know who needs you to use your position of power and influence to make things right for them? I know what you're thinking. I'm not very powerful, I'm not very influential. I get it, but you know, I bet you're taken seriously somewhere. I bet you're respected enough somewhere that if you stood with someone, you can make a difference in their life. You can make the world a more just place. We can all change the system by focusing on just one person.